The National Milk Producers Federation recently submitted comments on the scientific review of the Dietary Guidelines, underscoring their priorities for dairy. Alan Bjerga joins us now with the highlights. Appreciate you being with us, Alan. Now, tell us what you had to say to the advisory committee.
This is an important step in the formulation of the dietary guidelines for Americans, and National Milk Producers Federation really emphasized the importance for the next edition of the dietary guidelines, which will govern 2025 to 2030, needs to maintain the dairy group as well as the recommended servings from the 2020 guidelines and frankly previous guidelines. And you take a look at the current guidelines, 89% of Americans are not getting enough dairy nutrition in their diets. Dairy is a great source of 12 essential nutrients and critical to dietary success. And so you need to be able to maintain that. Now, following from that, we need to let people know that dairy is an equitable option. You know, there's a lot of discussion, concern about different groups and lactose intolerance. Well, when you take a look at dairy, you know, many dairy products are low or no lactose, and even milk, you know, which you hear about most, has some very accessible lactose-free varieties that allow people to have that dairy quality nutrition regardless of what their own situation may be or their own background. We also need to look at plant-based alternatives. You know, these plant-based beverages that slap milk on their names, even though they're not milk, have made headway in the marketplace, convincing some people that they are an acceptable nutritional substitute, and they're just not, especially for children. When you take a look at some of the stuff that children need, plant-based alternatives don't do it. And then finally, we're looking for flexibility on full-fat options. You know, most Americans buy their kids whole or 2% milk. The science has shown that this is a great way to get kids quality nutrition. But right now, the dietary guidelines aren't aligned with the latest science. So we need that update to be made to make sure that, once again, everyone, especially children, get the nutrition they need.
Right, and milk does provide that. So what are some of the challenges the committee faces this time around?
Well, part of the challenge, and you see this all the time in Washington, is that everybody looks at this through their own advocacy lens. And so, you know, folks whose primary concern may be the environment rather than nutrition, or perhaps they're a social justice group rather than a nutrition group, they will project their own goals onto the guidelines. And look, you know, you can be for equity, you can be for a cleaner environment and for a sustainable planet. The dietary guidelines are about nutrition, and you need to keep that focus on nutrition to make sure that they're most effective in what they're designed to do, which is to provide quality nutrition recommendations so people get the nutrients they need. So that resistance to outside pressure is always a challenge in these guidelines, and you only see it intensify every 5 years.
Right, got to keep those priorities straight for sure. So when would we expect those new guidelines?
Well, this is a big part of the discussion because, you know, we have a look at the science going on right now. You have a comment period, and then the committee deliberates. They take a look, and they should have a real thoughtful window to discuss the dietary guidelines and come up with the best recommendations. We're running up against an election, and you hear some rumors that this is potentially something that could be slammed through before a new administration takes effect. And that would really be a disservice to the guidelines and to the deliberative process that we really need. So we're really hoping this isn't a rush job. We're really hoping that people focus on nutrition. And we feel like if those things happen, dairy is going to do very well because the science stands with us, and so do the nutritional benefits.
Yeah, rushing through doesn't benefit the consumer either. That's Alan Bjerga with the National Milk Producers Federation. Appreciate your time today.